Against a Department of Justice decision on Tuesday not to bring federal charges against a police officer who placed Eric Garner in a chokehold which caused his death. Now, Wednesday marks the 5th anniversary of his death. Garner, a black man, was killed while in police custody 5 years ago. His final words, "I can't breathe," have been chanted by protesters across the US. Garner's family, who have become figureheads in the Black Lives Matter movement, have campaigned to hold the NYPD accountable. Now, for more on this, Justin Hansford from the Howard University School of Law joins us live from Washington, D.C. Good to have you on the show, Justin. Tell me, first of all, what's your reaction to the Department of Justice's ruling on Garner's case?
I'm outraged as much as any of the protesters on the street there are outraged today, because if you looked at the video that was broadcast all around the country, it is clear that Eric Garner was treated with brutality and savagery, and we should all be outraged at the standard of evidence which is required to bring a case against a police officer. We have seen that time and time again there's been a hesitancy to even bring charges against police officers who are involved in excessive force against citizens of color, especially black people in the United States. So we're all outraged by this decision.
And tell us, Justin, there have been many other similar events to this in the past.
That's right. Of course, we know about the Mike Brown case in Ferguson, Missouri, Sandra Bland in Texas, Freddie Gray in Baltimore. The Black Lives Matter movement was premised on trying to find a way to create accountability for all of these killings. And 5 years after Mike Brown was killed, it'll be 5 years this August, it's clear that we have not yet turned the corner on police accountability in the United States.
And tell us, we're looking at live pictures of the march taking place in New York today. And, are authorities getting the message?
Well, the big problem here, as a law professor, I can tell you, is the law itself is broken. Too often, in order to prove that a police officer engaged in excessive force, a jury would have to decide that a police officer intended to violate someone's civil rights. And it's very hard to prove that intent in a court of law. The previous Attorney General, Eric Holder, who was Attorney General under President Obama, himself recommended that we change those laws, and still nothing has been done to fix that broken system. So the reason that we see this repeating over and over again in all these different cities, Oscar Grant in San Francisco, we have Laquan McDonald in Chicago, the list goes on, is because all across the country we have these same broken laws upholding the same broken system. And people are outraged about this inequality which continues to take place.
And Justin, while we have you here, just to broaden this out, what is your take on President Trump's recent tweets that we've seen this week?
Well, it's important to remember that President Trump's attitudes trickle down to law enforcement on the ground. So, for example, President Trump is the one who appointed the current Attorney General, William Barr. And it was this Attorney General that decided not to bring charges against the killer of Eric Garner. So President Trump's attitudes are not just abstract tweets that people should be responding to in an emotional way. They should realize that there are tangible consequences to the way President Trump views people of color in this country, saying that they should go back to where they came from. They came from here. They're American citizens, and they belong here just as much as he does or anyone else here in the United States. And so that attitude has to change before we can see change on the ground.
Justin Hansford, great to get your analysis, and thank you so much for speaking to us on TRT World. Thanks.